Get ready with me while I tell you how my neighbors called the cops on me. Let's get into it. If you're new here, my name is Lauren. I do makeup, skincare, body care, get ready with me, stuff like that. And sometimes I tell stories if something crazy happens to me. I also have another channel where I do like all sorts of mom stuff, cleaning videos. Everything will be linked down below. So this happened a couple months ago when my brand new baby boy was probably only like 2.5 months old. And for the record, he did cry a lot back then. I actually was taking him to the pediatrician like all the time because he cried so much, and there's nothing I could figure out to fix it, that I thought something was wrong with him. So I kept taking him to the pediatrician. Nothing was wrong with him. He's just a baby that cries. He just wanted a lot of attention. He wanted to be held all the time, 24/7, but he didn't like either of the carriers that I had, and I have a toddler that I need to also take care of. So I couldn't hold him 24/7, so he would cry. And when he starts crying, it's hard to get him to stop. Like, it's hard to calm him back down. So yeah, that's what I was dealing with, okay? So on this particularly a lovely day, it happened to be a Tuesday, and I live in a place where it gets very cold, and that day it had snowed a ton and the roads closed. A lot of people had to stay home from work, had to stay home from school, the whole 9 yards. Now this is about, I think it's like 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock-ish. Baby wakes up from, he actually took his first nap and he was totally fine. But then my toddler woke up and was requesting breakfast. So of course I put the baby down to make the toddler breakfast. And I'm not making anything extravagant. It probably takes about 20 minutes to make, if that. Like, I'm making pancakes or something from a mix. You know, nothing crazy, but it takes a minute. And my baby starts crying. Oliver is my baby's name, and the toddler is Jax. So he starts crying. He cries for maybe like 10 minutes while I finish up making breakfast and get my toddler situated. And then I go and I pick him up and I'm trying to soothe him. I'm doing everything I know how to do. I'm making sure it's not the diaper, making sure it's not the onesie. I try to breastfeed him. He doesn't want it. He's just upset. He's crying. Probably takes me about another 20 to 30 minutes to calm him down, and he eventually actually just falls asleep. So in total, he was crying for about 40 minutes, okay? And for the record, like I said, he cried a lot. 40 minutes was like a good day for him. That's how bad his crying was back then, that I was like, oh, 40 minutes, child's play, okay, right? And to backtrack a little bit, all these times I'm taking him to the pediatrician and nothing's wrong with him, my pediatrician was like, okay, how about you start tracking every time he eats, and then the time between when he's eating to when he starts crying and stops crying and all that, just to make sure it's not your food. Because if he was crying within like a certain time after eating, it's probably my breast milk and it's something that I'm eating or whatever. So I'm tracking all of this. I'm tracking when he eats, when he starts crying, when he stops crying, when he falls asleep, when he wakes up. I'm tracking all of that. A lot of people track that with their new babies. Baby's asleep now, okay? Baby just fell asleep. Toddler's still eating breakfast, sitting at the table, eating his strawberries and waffles or whatever pancakes I made him that morning, okay? I am so like freshly postpartum. I'm stressed out. I feel bad that I struggle to get him to stop crying, okay? This is something I've been struggling with since he was born. So I'm crying. As soon as I put him down in the bassinet, I start crying, and I'm in the kitchen crying, trying to unload and reload the dishwasher. And like, I know he's not going to sleep very long. That's my other thing that I was dealing with Oliver, is that he's a catnap kind of baby. And I know a lot of people probably, if you have kids, you maybe have had one like this. He's only going to sleep for like 20-30 minutes tops. He's a catnapper. He's not going to sleep long. So I'm like, great. That just took me 40 minutes to get him to calm down, and I'm only going to get about 20 minutes here, so I better hurry up and clean this kitchen, basically. But I'm so stressed, I'm doing the kitchen while I'm crying, right? 15 minutes into his nap, while I'm crying, loading my dishwasher, knock, knock, knock at the door. 2 sheriff's deputies. Tears in my eyes, I answer this freaking door. And they say to me, Hi, we're here about a welfare check. We've gotten a call about a baby crying for an excessive amount of time. My sadness immediately turns into rage because I'm like, excessive amount of time? Excessive amount of time? This was a good day for us. He only cried for 40 minutes. What are you talking about, excessive amount of time? Last week, he cried for like 4 hours and there's nothing I could do about it and nothing could fix it. And I was about to call my husband and tell him to come home from work because I couldn't get him to stop crying. What do you mean? Someone called the cops. Like, I was furious. Cute. And so that's basically what I said to them. Like, I asked them, and keep in mind, I'm answering the door with tears in my eyes. Okay? But I'm pissed now. And I asked them that, you know, well, what would you say is an excessive amount of time? Like, what's the parameters on that? And they're like, oh, well, we would say like maybe 3 or 4 hours would be excessive. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, but whoever called lied to you because he's only cried for about 40 minutes this whole morning. They're like, yeah, well, we just have to, like, you know, if we get a call about a kid that's been abandoned, we have to check. And I was like, really? They said that I abandoned my kids? Like, did they say that they saw me leave or what? And they're like, we just got a call about excessive crying for an extended period of time. And that they thought the kid was alone in the house. Now I'm just getting pissed because how dare you? Whoever called, I know who it was. Whoever called those neighbors over there, how dare you? I would get my family to fly here from Texas before I left my house with my kids. You know, like, that is such a crazy accusation because you're annoyed by a baby for 30 minutes. So I was like, I was pissed. Like, they could tell that I was pissed, I'm sure, because I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? Well, the only thing that I have that could even like vouch for me right now is that I track all my baby stuff. And I showed them like how I track it, and I'm like, here's where he, like, everything since like 5 a.m. this morning when he first woke up, and now it's like 9:30. So for the past 4.5 hours, he's eaten at this time, slept at this time, cried at this time, woke up at this time, whatever. And you can see he only cried for about 40 minutes. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I know that's basically like just my word, but you can see, like, I'm not messing with it right now. I'm not like faking it. I literally just pulled my phone out and showed you that I had already tracked all this stuff. They're like, oh, no, we, like, it's okay. Like, that's really good that you like track everything. It's just that, you know, we don't want to upset you like even more. It's just that if we get a call about something like this, we have to check. Like, whether someone's lying or not, we have to check. And they didn't say that part. They didn't say the lying part, but that's what I was like getting from it. It was like, whether that person's straight up lying, being a fucking Karen, they have to check anyway. So that's what they were doing. And then of course Oliver wakes up because, like I said, so we've been talking at the door for like maybe 10 minutes now. He probably slept for like 25 minutes total, and then he woke up. So now I'm like, okay, well, let me go get my baby. So I go and run and get him, and now I'm talking to them at the front door with my baby on my hip, tears in my eyes, pissed off, sad, upset, embarrassed that there's cops at my door, like everything, right? Then I'm holding my baby, and they're like, so then obviously they can like see him and see that there's nothing wrong with him, and, you know, he's just a normal baby, I guess. I don't know. Whatever they have to check for. I was like, you know, I don't know if it's just because of like the weather, because the roads are closed and people are stuck home from work, but not to tell on myself or anything, but he's been crying so much more than he cried today. Like, all these other days that he's been crying, I told them how he's been crying so much that I've been taking him to the pediatrician for like extra appointments and stuff. It was like last week he cried for 4 hours straight, basically, and nobody called the cops. So I'm pretty sure whoever called is just home from work because the roads are closed, and they lied to you about how much he's crying because they got annoyed by him crying for like 30 minutes because they're assholes, okay? I didn't say that last part, but they got it from context. And then I got the vibe that they agreed with me because they were like, yeah, I think this is literally what they said. They're like, yeah, I'm starting to think we're getting like a good grasp of what happened here. And I'm like, yeah, you better be. Like, hopefully you are. So then they're like, okay, well, you know, again, we just have to do our job. We just have to check if we get a call like that. We can't just ignore it. Hopefully you understand. And I was like, yes, I completely understand. And, you know, like, thanks for doing your job. You know, a lot of times there are situations where kids are in trouble and people don't call because they want to mind their business. It just sucks that in this situation, someone lied. It's kind of like a crying wolf, you know what I'm saying? But thank you, you know, for doing your job. I understand. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at my neighbor, basically. So then the sheriff's deputies leave and they go and talk to my neighbors on both sides, but I already knew who it was because on this side, we know those people and we know when they're, well, I know because I'm here all day with my kids, but I know when they're like gone for work and stuff. Like I usually see them leave and they park in the driveway and not in their garage. So if the cars aren't there, you know, like no one's there kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, like obviously it wasn't them, and they're like not even the type that would call the cops or anything. Like they would probably just come talk to me if they thought something was wrong, you know? And like I really don't think that 40 minutes of crying would even bother them, but whatever. And these neighbors on my other side, they have problems with like everybody on the street because they're human. Well, it's not even all of them. It's one guy that lives there who's just a dickhead. Like he's just a dickhead. He's like known on our street. He's a dickhead. He calls the cops on everybody. People end up calling the cops on him because he goes out on the street and does crazy shit. Like, he's crazy. So when they go over here, they knock on the door and nobody answers. And then they go over here to this side and someone answers and they're talking for a while. And then they end up just leaving. They don't even come back and talk to me or anything. The sheriff's deputies. A lot of moms like probably have a hard time being like, I'm a good mom, because mom guilt is like something else. But as much mom guilt as I might feel over dumb things, at the end of the day, I know I'm a good mom. And I know I would literally never abandon my children. Like I won't even go in my backyard by myself when my kids are inside taking a nap, let alone leave my house completely and leave a 2-month-old by themselves. Like I would never do that, and being accused of something like that, rage, okay? And then like the fact that like the worst person on our street was the one calling is just like, the fact that you just flippantly accuse somebody of that because you are annoyed for like 30 minutes, you got problems. That is the story of how my neighbors lied to the cops about me, and cops showed up at my freaking house. So that was fun. So if you're having a bad day and your baby won't stop crying, at least nobody calls the cops on you. So that is the final look. Hopefully I don't look too crazy. I did do quite the blush today. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully that was a funny little entertaining story for you. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.